It was a gray, rainy afternoon when I realized that Karen, the notorious HOA tyrant, had reached a new level of harassment. For months she had been making complaints, calling the authorities, and attempting to manipulate rules for her own gain. But now she was relentlessly targeting me with nonstop harassment, emails, phone calls, and even in-person confrontations. It had escalated to the point where her behavior could no longer be ignored. I had been sitting in my home office when the first email arrived, accusing me of illegal property modifications and demanding immediate action. Normally, I would have ignored such nonsense, but the frequency and intensity of these attacks signaled a pattern that needed addressing. Over the next few hours, dozens of messages, text messages, and even voicemails piled up, each more aggressive and threatening than the last. I realized that her harassment was intentional and systematic. She wanted to wear me down, create fear, and gain leverage over my property and my life. But I wasn't about to let that happen. I began carefully documenting everything. Timestamps of emails, copies of texts, and recordings of any in-person interactions. Every threat, accusation, or false claim would be recorded. Karen, predictably, decided to escalate further. She appeared at my front door without warning, shouting through the storm about alleged violations and demanding that I cease and desist immediately. Her voice carried across the neighborhood, and several neighbors came out to see what was happening. I stepped outside, calmly holding a notebook with all my documentation. "Karen, your harassment is unacceptable," I said evenly. "All of your accusations are false, and your continuous contact is considered harassment. I have been documenting everything. Any further interference will be reported formally to the HOA and the authorities." She waved her hands dramatically, pretending to be the victim. "I'm protecting the neighborhood. You're the one breaking rules. You have to listen to me." I shook my head. "Karen, your claims have no legal basis. The only rule you are breaking is harassment, and I have a complete record of it." By this point, her expression shifted from feigned outrage to panic. She realized that her tactics were failing and that her obsession with intimidation was being systematically dismantled. I called the HOA to report her ongoing harassment, providing copies of my meticulous records. Within hours, an HOA official arrived to witness the situation firsthand. Karen tried to argue with the official, but the documentation I had compiled was undeniable. Emails, text messages, voicemails, and eyewitness accounts all painted a clear picture. Karen's behavior was aggressive, persistent, and baseless. The HOA issued a formal warning, stating that any further harassment would result in fines of up to $1 million and potential legal action. Karen's face went pale. She tried to mutter a defense, but the HOA representative cut her off. "Your actions are unacceptable. This ends now. Any continued contact with the homeowner will have severe consequences." Finally, defeated and realizing that her usual intimidation tactics were useless against evidence and authority, Karen stormed off, muttering under her breath about unfair treatment. Over the next several weeks, her harassment ceased. I continued to maintain meticulous records, prepared in case she attempted any further escalation. My neighbors, relieved by the HOA's firm action, quietly expressed admiration for my calm and methodical approach. Karen's reputation as a tyrant who could bully and intimidate others without consequence began to erode rapidly. Reflecting on the ordeal, I realized the importance of vigilance, patience, and documentation when dealing with relentless harassment. Karen had believed that persistence, intimidation, and chaos would allow her to assert control, but evidence, preparation, and authority ultimately neutralized her power. By the end of the month, peace returned to my property. Karen had learned, albeit harshly, that relentless harassment has consequences, and that patience, preparation, and documentation are the strongest defenses against entitlement and aggression. My home was safe, my property secure, and the quiet victory over Karen's nonstop attacks was deeply satisfying.